we have the best fighting force in the world. But we've been playing in the sandbox of Iraq and Afghanistan. What's going to happen when we have our first world threat? When that pops up, are we going to be ready? And according to the GAO, we are sleep-deprived, sleep-restricted, fatigued, cognitively checked out military. How do we fix this problem?
Never quit. Never quit radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the TNQ podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Luttrell. Every week, it's my job to fire you up, to ignite the legend inside of you, and to push you to your greatness. Join me every week as I take you into my briefing room with some of the most hard-charging people on the planet. They're going to show you how to embrace the suck of life, teach you the values of working your ass off, and charge through whatever life throws at you. This is the Team Never Quit podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. As always, thank you guys for listening and watching, and please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button wherever you get your show. So today, before we get to our two special guests, let's kick it off with our weekly Patreon question. And this week, we've got, what is one thing today that really drives and motivates you?
That'd be my kids.
Service to veterans and service members.
I have to agree with you on the kids. I have to wake up and stay hard because my 5-year-old boy, I'll be 60 when he's 20, and I still got to be able to whoop his ass.
That's right.
That's
God,
right.
dude, are you ready for? I think about that too. When that moment rises, that one test day.
Can never be more than 30 days out from a PST.
All right.
That's right.
When Axe is going to kick your butt.
When he thinks he's able to, there's no old man. I got my old man strength coming in right now, dude. I can feel it. So
that's right.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't, but it is.
Didn't you try to kick your dad's butt one time?
And that's the first time I ever got knocked out.
Yeah, mine would be my hubby and my kids.
Yeah.
I don't have kids, so I just got to say my working with responders and soldiers.
That's awesome. All right.
What about you,
Hunter?
Probably knowing the summertime is coming around.
Oh, here we go.
Got to stay,
It's a youth thing here.
Summer body in shape, you know?
Got to stay hot.
You got to stay hot.
Got to stay hot. That's what motivates me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Never lose that.
Yeah.
I taught you one thing as you're growing up, your mind, your body, and spirit, man, just keep them sharp all the time till the day the good Lord pulls you back.
That's funny.
That's a good question. All right, man, we're going to get into this. Thank y'all for being here. Let's start out, man. Tell me who you are and a little bit what you're about.
Right on. So, Chris Frueh, I'm a clinical psychologist. I'll just go back to my childhood. My dad was a Vietnam veteran. He was a physician, not a combatant. I want to be clear about that. My hero was my great-grandfather, who he lived to be almost 100. He died when I was 14. And his history, at age 16, he ran away from an orphanage, lied about his age, signed up and joined the Michigan militia and went to Cuba to fight in the Spanish-American War. And so he was at the Battle of San Juan Hill, and he was on the side of the mountain taking all the fire while Teddy Roosevelt and his guys went up the backside of the hill. And a part of his story, so converging, my father came home in the early 70s and he was in Vietnam in 68. But when my first memories of things were my father talking about how brutal war is and how soldiers and veterans post-war really suffer. My great-grandfather, part of his story was he came home, they mustered out all of the forces that went to Cuba at Montauk Point at the tip of Long Island. They brought him home by ship, and they were all sick with mosquito-borne diseases. They built a muddy camp, pitched rows of tents, and basically said, good luck to you. We hope you get, we hope the diarrhea ends sometime, in the next few months. To the end of his life, my grandfather always believed that his life was saved by a wealthy woman who came up from New York City in her horse-drawn carriage with her butler and filled the carriage up with 5 or 6 guys, took them to her home in the city and nursed them back to health for about 6 to 8 weeks. And then she gave them money so they could get train rides home to wherever home was.
Oh my gosh.
She got a name?
Mrs. Jack Bean. I dedicated my book, Operator Syndrome, to Mrs. Bean and to my great-grandfather, Claude Brocklebank.
Oh, wow. That's so awesome.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So I went to graduate school, started graduate school in clinical psychology in 1987 so that I could work with veterans. And I spent my first 15 years of my career working at the VA system in a VA PTSD clinic. And that kind of begins the journey. I left the VA in 2006, and about a decade ago, just through kind of random friends of mine here in Houston, and which is eventually how I met you guys and Morgan. I've been working kind of on my own with the special operations community for about the last decade.
How did you meet Morgan? Was it through the
It was
UT?
probably through Tyler.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was probably through Tyler or David Rutherford.
How did you
The
meet?
freaking two guys you just laid down are great.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Man.
Two of my closest
Oh.
friends ever. Dave wrote the foreword for the Operator Syndrome book, and Morgan and I and a few others, we collaborated on a medical paper in 2020, as you know, describing the profile of interrelated injuries that special operators experience, pretty much all of them. And we call that operator syndrome. That's just a phrase that a lot of us have been using. And then of course, the book that came out last year. And can I just give a quick rundown?
Yeah, please.
So my view, my perspective is that as a nation, through the military, the VA system, we've completely screwed the pooch with PTSD. We've put everything on PTSD. If you go to the VA, if you go to most civilian docs, DOD docs, you've been to combat, PTSD. Whatever your problems are, it doesn't matter, it's PTSD. Hit that easy button, and then here's a bucket of psychiatric medications. Here's a 25-year-old social worker or therapist who doesn't know anything about the military. And that's kind of it. That's kind of where things begin and end. And because we've put that reliance on PTSD, we've not attended to sleep and sleep apnea, which people like, what? Sleep apnea in soldiers? Yeah, it's in special operations, it's probably 80-90%. Hormones, the rate of low testosterone in special operators by the time they're 30, 35 is probably 80-90%.
Used up all the gas in the tank.
Yeah. And it's treatable, it's recoverable, but not if we don't measure it, not if we don't talk about it, not if we're not addressing it. And so my fields of psychiatry, psychology, we have, I think we've failed a generation of soldiers and probably multiple generations of soldiers because we've pretended like hormones are not a concern. And then you add on to that the inevitable chronic pain in the body, on all the joints in the body, the massive traumatic brain injury that comes from the blast exposures. And most people don't know that soldiers, especially in special operations, but not limited to, injure their brains in 2 different ways. Impact forces, of course, which cause a concussion, and those accumulate over time and can lead to chronic traumatic encephalopathy. But also, the blasts have a shearing effect, so that scars the glial cells in the nervous system. So that's been called interface astroglial scarring. It's a different type of brain damage, which we're only kind of waking up to in the last 8-10 years.
But you can see it on a scan, though.
You can not on a scan. That's the problem. You can see it on a post-mortem study.
Is that the CTE thing?
No,
That's
that's
different,
impact
right?
forces.
Okay.
This is a little different, but it also accumulates. So you could go to the range and shoot, Carl Gustavs for a day, and you're going to have headaches and vomit and feel terrible. But if it's just one day, maybe you'll be okay. But you do that for 20 years of demolitions and breaching and Carl Gustavs and sniper rifles and mortar, all the indirect fire that might be coming in on things. Flashbangs and hand grenades and being in a shoot house where everything echoes and reverberates, even if you're just shooting pistols. So we have failed to understand that until very, very recently, and even that it's not gotten out there. So we need to completely overhaul our approach to how we take care of soldiers. And by the way, this also affects first responders in
Sure.
many cases too.
They
So
probably got it worse than us. 'Cause they're always doing it. That's like a career thing right there, man.
many differences, but yeah. I mean, soldiers fight their wars overseas so far. Responders are in the streets of their hometown,
Right.
of their community, and they're transitioning out after each and every shift. So that's a high op tempo series of intense day or shift on the streets. Maybe it's a couple of days because firefighters often do 2-3 day shifts and then transitioning home. So yes, they have a lot of shit on that. But and I say we as the medical establishment, of which I've been a part of for 30 years, we fucked it all up. We're not paying attention, and so that's kind of why Morgan and I wrote that paper.
What started that? What, did y'all see something, or or we came along, right? Is that what happened?
Well, exactly. So I met Garrett in Houston. I met Tyler.
Golden?
Yeah.
God, he's a great dude.
Yeah. So Garrett and I we were tight. Tyler Black, Dave Dizzo, who was Army side, so a couple of the guys that were on the Bin Laden desk at the agency. And then from there, it just kind of spread. So I started, friends of friends, hey, this helped me. Will you talk to this guy? So today I've probably worked with about 600 operators over the past decade, and that's included CANSOF, Canadian operators from Britain, Poland, Sweden, Norway, Australia, other countries. It's the same fucking pattern. It's the same pattern of brain injury, hormones, sleep apnea, chronic pain, chronic headaches, cognitive problems.
And then we get old.
And then you get
that
old.
starts.
And then, age brings its own issues. And I'm not saying there's not psychological things. There surely is. But if you go, what are the 3 main psychological problems? PTSD isn't even in that list. It's depression, it's anger, it's addiction. And if we put all the focus on PTSD, we're just doing a tremendous disservice. So the book Operator Syndrome, which I wrote with a lot of help, Rob's in it. The book, turn the pages, every few pages, there's a couple of quotes at the start of every chapter from operators. And the purpose of the book was written for the community. So you could pick up the book, you could read, you go right to the chapter that seems most relevant. The second half of the book is about solutions. And that becomes the other piece. The VA, DOD, modern medicine, we're not only misdiagnosing and mistreating, but we're denying the treatments that work. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy, psychedelic medicines, stellate ganglion blocks, which will
some immediate.
It's immediately,
Yeah.
right. You will be relaxed immediately. You will start sleeping better immediately, and your family will love you again because you're not a confused jerk as much. Well, you still might be some of that, but
Yeah, we got some.
we don't have cures for everything.
We love them.
We don't have
just
cures
a style,
for everything.
man.
Vestibular therapies, speech pathology therapies, the individually guided transcranial magnetic stimulation. I just had a paper came out last week showing we can use this treatment to reduce anxiety and depression, also improve cognitive functioning, and some of the vestibular stuff that comes along with brain injuries.
Is that the one that Dr. Nolan Williams did?
No, his work is mostly with psychedelics.
He has something that's electrodes or whatever, like almost like a TENS unit.
Okay.
That he has. I'm gonna screw this up. The name of it is Saint.
I don't know
it's
that.
It's called the Saint something,
I don't know
and
that.
they do an MRI. He can actually pinpoint where there's like buildup of depression or anxiety or whatever, and he puts these basically like a glorified TENS unit on those spots for several hours. I'm sure there's more that goes into it, but this is a short version. And it is shown an incredible, like the results are crazy incredible.
Well, so I don't know about that, but we do have a number of different treatments. It's called neuromodulation. Our neurons function, their electrochemical mechanisms of action. So we've been using electricity since the 50s to treat severe depression, electroconvulsive shock therapy, ECT.
It's come a long way since back in the
It's
day.
come a long way since then.
From what I understand.
Well, but I mean, that treatment is basically still kind of the same, although we give people muscle relaxants so they're not injuring themselves from jerking. But yeah, we have all these other ways of doing the treatments. So transcranial magnetic stimulation is an FDA-approved treatment for depression. It's been around about 10 years, but now we're making it better. We're figuring out how to individualize it. That was our paper. We treated. It was a chart review that just came out in Frontiers Neurology last week. All soft operators retired, TBI, PTSD symptoms, which are really anxiety and depression, as the way it's being defined, and really good results.
Pharmaceutical training, standby for dosage.
Yeah.
That's what PTSD stands for. That and pissed off, tired, stoned, and drunk, right?
Yeah. Well, so this is kind of my point. We've put all the focus on kind of the psychological without appreciating the physiological.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
What's causing it?
yeah, so let's push physiology forward. Let's diagnose things accurately. Let's test for your hormones. Let's give you a sleep study. Let's figure out if you have sleep apnea or periodic limb movement disorder or whatever, and go from there. But we haven't been doing that. We haven't
Rob,
been doing that at all.
that's where you come in.
And that's where Rob comes in. So,
Rob, tell me your full name and where you come from.
Rob Sweetman, come from the Carolinas.
Hey, buddy.
Now, we have a bone to pick with Texas about barbecue sauce. That's right. No, but God bless Texas. I couldn't be happier to be here. It feels good to fly out of California and come to Texas.
Yeah, you're lucky you're a sweet man.
That's right.
That barbecue thing's a big deal. We've been arguing. If you're going to argue about something, that's what we should argue about.
I know, right?
Is that
Let's-
kind of stuff.
Let's get it started. Where's the mustard?
So I lived in South Carolina. I want to be specific, not the Carolinas. South Carolina for 15 years.
That's a good one.
Way too much sugar in that barbecue sauce. Way too much sugar. I got to side with Texas.
We are the pinnacle of the obesity crisis. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Is that true? Oh, I was like,
it
man,
could be.
really?
It
It's
might
because
be.
of the sweet tea, not the barbecue
Could be
sauce.
the
Well, now
sweet tea.
we're with you on that.
Yeah,
I had that in my baby bottle, sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
I mean, it was the hardest thing. It was harder to give up than drinking. Was walking away from sweet tea on Sundays.
Right? So good.
Believe it. Yeah,
Man.
it is good.
So Rob Sweetman from the Carolinas. I joined the SEAL teams at nearly 30 years old. That was an interesting choice. I just barely made it under the line. I think you have to have a waiver.
You have a waiver?
I didn't have a waiver. I think I signed up.
What is a waiver? Is it 32?
No, I think it's 28.
28, right?
But it could have changed. That's been 2010. So I signed up, no waiver, but I was slow playing it, no rush. I was in the DEP program, so I think I showed up to the SEAL team at almost 30, right? So I went through buds at 29.
That's freaking old.
Oh my gosh, it was so painful. I remember going to medical because there's this one petty officer, Huang, right, that he rang the bell. But he was in our log PT, and we went and did the lie detector test, and it was very clear.
Put you on the lie detector.
They put us on it. It was very clear that Huang was not carrying his weight. And I remember at that moment in time, we were doing log lunges. I remember a lot of pain. I would find out later I had to have quadruple hernia surgery around all that mess. Shredded my, not just my insides, but my actual PT, my BDUs or camis, whatever. But there was tearing going on the inside. So I got that fixed up. Wasn't too big deal. But I mean, this is the stuff you deal with when you're trying to go through
there.
the hardest military training in the world at that age. So I did make it through. I served from 2010 to 2018. I was retired out, a medical retirement, hurt my back. And so a lot of depression came with that. I felt like I didn't know who I was. Like, what is my value if I can't even get out of bed and stand up straight? They wanted to do a 3-level fusion. I declined that. That was against medical advice. They med boarded me. So I took a knee over at ATC, taught the TSO program, as I exited out. And along the way, one of the guys I was in a platoon with ended up turning a couple of wrong turns down the wrong road and ended up hanging himself. And his name is Ryan Larkin. And what I observed from Ryan was poor sleep. I mean, to summarize it, I mean, there's alcohol, there's Ambien, all the stuff they give us, but, sedatives to go to sleep, stimulants to wake up, but never really getting sleep. And I was curious because I was struggling with sleep. I was like, is this a problem in the SEAL teams? Is this a problem in the Navy? Is it a problem in the military? So I ended up first of all, I started hanging out with all the doctors at Navy Medical Center Balboa. And when I say doctor, what I mean is MDs. And I'd ask them questions like, hey, is sleep health related to mental health? We don't know anything in the teams. We know, being hard. Right. We know about grit. We know about pushing through anything. This is not Olympic training. This is man training. Yeah. So we, taking a knee and, getting a little nap and sleep, these are things of weakness. We don't even talk about them, much less do we know the correlation between mental health. So what I found by asking these doctors, these MDs, is that God bless their soul, but they don't know a daggum thing about sleep. They have no training in sleep. They have training in medicine to give pills, surgeries, devices, and they all sign up for the oath, and they have a very good intention, but this is their tool set. I like to liken it to, I was an A-dub gunner, right? Best job in the teams. And
it kind of is.
It is.
Yeah, it is, man.
And you're the hinge pin, right? So if you're on the other end of that A-dub, it's a bad day.
Terrifying.
Doesn't matter if you're a good dude, bad dude.
It's terrifying.
If you're a nail, that hammer's coming down, right? And so that's kind of how it is in medicine these days. And there's a lot of powers in the pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, the hospital systems that control the actions of these doctors. It's not all their fault, but that's their tool set. If you're on the other end of their prescription, it's going to be drugs, surgery. Some of them will go the holistic route, and some of them will talk about these things. But Casey Means, a Stanford-trained doctor, recently reported to Congress that she had zero training from Stanford Medical School on metabolic health, which is the number one thing impacting our society. I mean, in terms of health, we just broke 40% obesity in the United States. So anyways, I digress. I'm searching answers.
Slight correction, I believe it's obesity and extremely overweight.
That's right.
Yeah, combined, 40%.
And I think it's 17% for kids, which is impacting our recruitment rates.
I saw something the other day. Is that the generations ahead of us wanted to keep their bad habits, but they wanted to not have the after effects of it. That's where all the medicines come from.
Yeah. And sometimes those medicines that kids are prescribed to disqualify them from military service. There's a lot going on there. So anyways, I was not finding the answers that I wanted to with the MDs, and by God, I have to stop this. I can't save Ryan, but maybe I can save guys like him. So I kept researching, met beautiful people like Chris here. But, the ones that had the best information were the PhDs in neurobiology, neurophysiology, circadian sciences, cognitive sciences, because they were really taking a hard look at sleep and how it functioned. And I got my question answered. Is there a relationship between sleep health and mental health? And there's an inextricable link, and it's a two-way road. So you can't exactly say that, all sleep, causes all mental health, and you can't say all mental health causes sleep health, but they're definitely related. So that forged my next career into sleep science. I've been a sleep scientist for 8 years. I've helped hundreds of veterans and first responders, and a team guy. You can't give yourself a name like this, but a team guy gave me the name, the Sleep Genius, after I helped a cohort of Navy SEALs get their sleep back on track.
More than one.
A whole cohort of them.
Yeah, that's how you got that.
That's right.
Side note, Robin, I have a friend who's a Canadian firefighter, J.D. Miller, who went through the program, and so it's kind of like weird how all of these things start interconnecting. But so there's cohorts of firefighters all over North America who Rob has helped with sleep.
So what were you doing when you started seeing a pattern to where you could, I can figure this out to where it works?
Well, there's nothing like the thought of one of your buddies dying to motivate you. And to be honest with you, I wondered if I would be next, if I would kill myself. And that's doesn't make sense to say out loud. Why would you even think that? Like there has to be steps that lead up to suicide. But we still don't have suicide figured out any more than we did yesterday.
We haven't made a dent.
We haven't even made a dent. And the thing is, if you don't understand why your buddy did it, then how can you understand the steps to you going down that road?
Sure.
If we're suffering from the same issues, well, if he's a better dude than me, he's a sniper, medic, all these beautiful, I mean, I couldn't go to those courses. I wanted to go to those courses. So I looked up to him, and his dad was a team guy. Like, if he can do that, then am I next? So that burning desire led me to sobriety. It led me to a path of following God's path. It led me to doing the right thing at all times. Not that I wasn't before, but in the SEAL teams, we're knuckleheads, man. So I had to clean it up and get right because I felt like there were people relying on me, waiting for me to come up with an answer, and I had to do it. So, I mean, there's just nothing that can replace that passion. And so like a good team guy, I got down in the trenches and worked my butt off for years with zero recognition. I didn't want any thanks. I didn't want anything except for just to help the guys. It's interesting how my story evolved because I ended up helping firefighters before I ended up helping team guys.
Sure, yeah.
But here I am today, and now actually I'm being recognized for the work, and it's just heartwarming that I have made an impact, that I have made a good transition out of the SEAL teams, and I'm useful in this world.
So what are you using, like supplements, or what's your magic sauce?
Great question. So the first thing that people lean towards in sleep health is sleep hacks. Give me a pill, give me a powder, give me a substance, slam me with a needle. Do I need testosterone replacement therapy? Do I need peptides? What's the best cocktail remedy? And all of those are valid. And I would say that there's probably people smarter than me at making those prescriptions. For example, Kirk Parsley, a Navy SEAL sleep expert, MD. My approach is very different. And if you ask Jason Tushin, who, funny enough, was the Master Chief over at Warcom when I was active. So he's like my boss's boss. We get out. He's one of the first guys to go through my pilot study. When he finished, he said, "This is the disciplined approach to sleep."
Yeah. That's exactly how you have to say that, too.
Yeah.
The team guys, this is when we went to Buds. Like, man, we got to discipline this into you. And that's how we, especially the SF, that's how they respond. When they snatch everything away from us in the beginning, man, and they put that discipline. This is your routine. But we all want that easy, quick fix for some reason.
Well, first of all, I just want to say that having your bosses, like literally a legend in the SEAL team, say that something you're doing is disciplined, that was pretty badass.
Feels good, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't ever say that.
Yeah, they don't
ever compliment you. It's the greatest place to be, man. If they're talking smack to you, that's how they show love. But when they
Correct.
Yeah.
So discipline, and it doesn't answer the male on everything. We've got brain injuries, we've got hormonal dysregulation, we've got all kinds of things going on with team guys. This allostatic load that Chris talks about is a real thing. But I think a significant portion of the overall health and wellness of most people, specifically when you've had all these traumas, whether it's injuries to the shoulders and the hips or the head or PTS, or there's just so many different things. We got to get the sleep right, and that starts with basic sleep hygiene. But it also we have to have a connection with our body. A lot of times our brains separate from the body, and we forget what a connection with our nervous system's like. Wim Hof, the Iceman, was very famous for, I think he hiked up K2 barefoot and ran the Mojave, or whatever desert marathon barefoot with no water. He did all these crazy things because he learned some techniques in breath work. So I went to these places. I went to India. I went to the Himalayas. I learned many of these techniques, and I brought it back to the guys and gals. And so, yeah, we need good sleep hygiene. We need good nutrition. Gut biome and gut-brain connection is super important. But also, we have to be able to down-regulate, don't we, right? If we're 100 miles per hour all the time, hyper-vigilant, we like to call it, how do we turn that off so we can actually go to sleep? And that requires a very intimate connection with your nervous system. And if you don't have that, you're kind of a lost cause. And so we start with breath work, and that leads into all other different types of practices. But when you do like the Wim Hof breath work that I do, I have a team of relaxation coaches that are much better than me that teach this stuff. Once it clicks and you're able to feel your body and that sensation within your nervous system, oh, this is what it feels like to downregulate into a parasympathetic nervous system state. Then you're ready to rest and digest, as they call it. And so I keep it pretty simple, but I'll tell you the secret. I'll tell you the secret right now. Everything I do is free to all. You got to have discipline. And in discipline, if you do something consistently for a period of time, we found that it takes 3 to 5 weeks to establish a habit.
That's what I was going to ask you.
It's not just doing. How many people go in New Year's for their New Year's resolution, and they step in the gym, which by the way is the hardest part, and they go for 1 week, 2 weeks, they don't see results, and they quit. You need 3 to 5 weeks minimum to establish a habitual routine, and then what we think initiates that within the brain to sort of go on autopilot is this part of the brain called the basal ganglia, like this group within the brain that we associate with habit formation. But however it happens, at some point there's this click. Now, I've seen guys it's taken a year. And by the way, you probably should get off alcohol, right, if you want to see progress. And so sometimes we have some roadblocks in the way. But whether it takes 3 to 5 weeks like the average person, or it takes 6 months or a year, once that habit gets into place, it becomes almost like autopilot. And when our sleep, when we're getting good sleep and it's automatic, boy, that's a good feeling. Now the long-term recovery can begin.
Rob, just to add, it's a little more complicated in that you're talking about habits, but you got to know what habits to engage in. And so there is a learning process. We think, going to bed is just as simple as going to sleep is as simple as putting your head on the pillow. But I think, can you just say a little bit more about what those habits are? And people need to learn them, and how can they learn them?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to keep things very, very simple, and I tell everybody the course that we run is called 62 Romeo. Hundreds of graduates at this point, saved lots of lives. I've gotten letters. I've gotten photos of the bullet beside somebody's bed that they were going to take their life with. Not anymore, because they're sleeping good. You feel better when you sleep good. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. I mean, if I take a quote from Molly Eastman, one of my favorite sleep colleagues, she says, sleep is a skill. And if we sharpen that skill set and we practice that skill set for a period of time, then we can really become powerful. Every Olympic athlete knows this. You know, they pay lots of money for sleep coaches to come in and help them sleep because they know all the gains are made while they're sleeping. We know that you can practice an art, jujitsu, violin, anything. You know, they say 10,000 is the threshold, right? But it's the actual sleep where the memory consolidation happens that allows them to be able to master that art. So you're right. So I would say, things that people can use today. Light, sound, and temperature is the original work that I did in graduate school. Light being, how our eyes pick up the light waves around us, and optimally we have blue light, morning light, sunlight coming in the retina first thing in the morning, and in the evening starts to get more dim, right? So a lot of times the excessive bright lights, blue light has been a culprit discussed for years. A lot of times those things can excite those retinal ganglion cells, and they're directly connected to our body clocks. Our body clock's getting confused, right? You're on your devices and all this stuff all night. So putting away the devices, allowing your body to get closer to the earth, a natural sunrise, sunset is critical, and vitamin D is also important too. But specifically for sleep, light and then sound, we don't even realize that Charles Czeisler, famous sleep doctor, did a study on, he did hypnograms for sleepers and then introduced noise and watched the hypnograms change. He was actually able to detect changes in sleep staging, basically interruptions in the hypnogram, when he introduced noise. And so what that tells us is that even though we think we're dead asleep, how many times we use that term, dead asleep? Man, I was dead asleep. We're actually still processing auditory, right? And that, of course we are, right? That's how we've stayed alive this long, is because the tiger's crawling through the woods and it snaps a limb and you wake up. You were talking about that earlier, like being in Iraq. Boy, anything can wake you up. You're always sensing. So if we are always sensing, we know we're hypervigilant, which is basically all team guys and all first responders, and we don't address the sound issue, any noise pollution will disrupt our sleep cycles as low as 35 decibels. I'm talking at 60 or 70 right now. That's proven by Dr. Czeisler. So all of that's to say earplugs, EarPro, white noise machine, pink noise. A lot of sleep scientists like pink noise. Some prefer brown noise.
What
sound
is
machines.
that?
It's just sound. So here's the interesting fact that we have to go over. So there's a thing that the brain does, right? So if we are alerted to noise spikes, right, then how do we combat that? I mean, we can stuff cotton in our ears and try to block it out. But then we bring up this topic of white noise. Well, wait a second, that's noise. Or I'm turning up in my bedroom, and that's more than 35 decibels. Well, first of all, Rob's wrong, right? He just said 35 decibels, but then he said white noise. Actually, the brain does something interesting. It habitualizes to smooth melodic sounds. And if you raise the volume of a smooth melodic sound, and sometimes, like my parents swear by leaving the TV on, as long as your brain normalizes it, then it's okay. It's nothing that's going to startle you, but the preference, it would be like pink noise. So you turn on that white noise, pink noise. My favorite is thunder shower. I like
That's
rain.
what Marcus loves.
I love it.
Bro, that YouTube, I'll put it on there. I started with the ocean sounds, right? Rolling in, then the fireplace crackling in the winter. I found this one, old pirate ship creaking at night.
That one freaks me out.
And then the one that we're on right now is frogs and crickets by a pond.
That one puts me to sleep. But there's some of them, like the pirate ship, that I'm like, are we okay? I cannot.
I'm a big proponent of that.
I don't like it. But I do like the frog one. And I don't mind an ocean, but I don't like the rain. Makes me feel like I need to get up and
Pee.
I don't know, do something. Yeah, like
Some
I just
people
can't
have to go
do
to the
it.
bathroom
So,
when they hear the water.
so just to maybe kind of make this relatable for some people, we notice, you use the word habitual. We habituate to something that's constant. We respond to a change. So if the air conditioning is running and you hear it turn on, after about 10 seconds or 30 seconds, you don't even notice it. But if it turns off, we notice that change. So having a smooth, constant noise throughout the night that's just, that's, as you say, slow and melodic and regular and doesn't change, that's really helpful.
Because when I got back, I had the TV on loud with American Psycho playing. That's what I'd go to bed to.
Love it. Well, and doesn't it buffer out noise pollution? So if we raise the volume of this, crickets and frogs, then we can't hear the dog barking or the baby crying or the car alarm going off, and you don't have as many problems like that out here in this beautiful estate. But people that live in the city, it's constant chaos.
Yeah.
And you can imagine what a hypnogram is how we measure sleep with brainwave activity, by the way. I mentioned that term. So we look at different stages of sleep. So if you have a nice smooth hypnogram going through different stages of sleep, well, that's great. But when you see choppiness in the brainwave activity, it's responding to something. And so if you have a noisy environment, you can very much have a disrupted sleep cycle that's represented in the hypnogram. And that's what we see in a noisy environment. So that's a tip: light, sound, and of course temperature. We like it dark, quiet, and cool.
Real quick, what's the difference between pink noise, brown noise, and white noise?
Well, we can demonstrate it, but I think it's easier for people to Google it and listen to the differences. White noise tends to be a little bit like higher tone, chattery kind of sounding. And then you'll notice that pink and brown noise sort of go down in octaves. Is that the right term? So there's a noticeable difference, but they're along the same lines.
Okay,
It's
so
like
white
static
noise would be like a fan noise or something, and then pink noise might be rain or something like that.
Scientifically, they're very specific, but in general,
Okay.
yes. And I have a lot of firefighters that are like, hey, I have this fan in my room. It's like, great. That works as white noise and as a cooling effect.
That's what I use. Fan right by my bedside table. Something that affects a lot of operators, a lot of soldiers, a lot of veterans is tinnitus, ringing in the ears.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and another thing about the war
It's
that
horrible.
the blasts.
Man.
So and that interferes with sleep too. White noise is a fan. White noise is one of the best ways to kind of modulate to minimize that haunting ringing in the ears.
I have it in my right ear. It's horrible. Well, I remember what you were saying. You got to make it a habit. And breathing's so important. And you're thinking the SEAL teams, we breathe on regulators all the time. I'm always breathing. Yeah, what are you talking about? And then someone said, it's autonomic. Your body does that naturally. So what do you think it's doing when you're breathing for it? It's doing something else, right? And then when it comes to the New Year's and working out or anything you want to implement, especially with your breathing, you got to make it a habit. I tell people, hey, from January 1st till January 10th, that's National Quit Day. All I want you to do is think about going to the gym. Just think about it at a certain time. And then I have some of my guys, I'm like, all right, I want 1 push-up for 2 weeks, not 2. It takes more discipline to do 1 push-up for 2 weeks than it does 2. You understand me? And then on that 3rd week, we'll go to 2, and we'll do it for 2 weeks. And then I got guys doing 55 they just keep going. And then you slowly make it a habit. A lot of people, they don't have it a habit, and their life gets in the way of it, and especially the guys that drink because you're hungover in the morning. And something will prevent you from going to that, especially if you haven't incorporated that in your life, and that takes time, 2 to 3 weeks, right, to break a habit or make a habit?
All the research is pointing towards 3 to 5 weeks, and then there's different thought processes on it, but typically there's a cue and a reward.
If something happens.
Yeah.
There's absolutely a gift that goes with that. I think people who are more disciplined in their life already probably can pick it up a little quicker because you know what you're looking for. But I tell people, man, most people are searching for a feeling. Guess what? This comes with one. It absolutely activates, and you know what happens or when it happens. Same way with people working out. Like when you see the guys that are real buff, it's like, you know how good that feels when you're built like that? Like when you've done that? Like you wake up in the morning wanting to wake up in the morning.
Yep.
I'll never forget how that felt when we were in teams because it was all the time. Your skin's tight. You're like, oh, that you can achieve that. And it comes with the feeling that the body really responds to, more so than alcohol. You want to know why the health nuts don't drink or anything like that? Because they don't want to get rid of that in shape feeling. And then to the breathing patterns, people are like, you mean you can actually breathe a certain number and it'll put you down? I do it every night. And I didn't believe in it until I started doing it religiously. Going into that closet. Sometimes I'll crawl to bed and forget about it, and I'll have to wake my butt. I'll get up out of the bed, go into the closet, sit down, and do that breathing cycle. Go lay back down and pass right out. So what you have to do is you have to habit your body, and it knows, like, okay, when I breathe this way, it's time for bed. And it's like your mind and your body have its own thing going on, and your spirit's in there trying to grab the reins and get this sucker going, bless you, going in a certain direction. No one ever pointed that out to me, but it is absolutely a thing.
It is. Yeah, man.
Okay, so you talked about the sound and the light. What temperature does it need to be? You talked about it.
We're getting into shooter choice, but yeah, everybody pretty much agrees 68. Some people say 65. I mean, it just depends. You get a 100 on that test. Good job.
It's the first time ever.
But it's shooter choice, right? Like everybody's different. Women tend to get colder easier because they have less muscle mass. Men who have night terrors need to take into consideration heavy heat and sweating in the middle of the night. The choice of materials on the bed, the type of bed. I got one of those free Tempur-Pedic beds from the high bay. They dropped them off, which they've done great by the teams in the military. They've done a lot of donations.
Thank y'all for that.
Yeah.
Everybody who donates that stuff to us, thank you.
If anybody's considering donating something to the military and our forces, now is the time. We have such a beautiful Secretary of Defense and military that's being built right now, and they need this entire country's support, really. So, but I got that Tempur-Pedic, and I sweat all night in it because it's like a rubber plastic type of feel, and I'm a hot sleeper. That's changed a little bit over the last 10 years, but so choosing the right bedding material is important for temperature regulation, but in general, you want it cool. They say there's a 1 to 2 degree trigger to fall asleep. There is a thin membrane attached to the hypothalamus, I believe, that is temperature sensitive for core body temperature. There's a lot of different trains of thought surrounding that, but in general, we want it to cool off, right? It's nighttime, it cools off, our body expects that, and boom, we slip into sleep.
We have what is that thing called?
We have a sleep aid,
Uller.
or 8 sleep,
Uller.
and a Uller system. You know what that is?
Both of them.
They're great, right?
Yeah, Tara Youngblood developed that one.
Man.
The Uller.
That was a game changer. My brother will literally go out of his way and tell people about it, and then he'll go like, "I'll buy it for you, and if you don't want it, just give it back to me.
Because somebody's going to want it.
Somebody will want it."
Somebody's going to use
It
it.
Yeah.
works that well.
I
I do the
get-
My Pillow. I mean, you say the comfortable thing we have is the bedding. Because in the teams, you sleep on the ground, you sleep underwater, you sleep on airplanes, you sleep everywhere else but in a comfortable bed. So when you do get a chance to go home to sleep, make sure that's the most comfortable thing you got.
I get so cold at night that I make him put the Uller on his side. I don't want it on mine because I get freezing at
Freaking
night.
game changer, man.
But he loves it. He keeps it on, and with the bedding, like we'll get our, change our sheets once, twice a week, and I never know if there's which sheets are which, but he knows. He's so in tuned with what is on the bed, and I wouldn't know if it's Target from some fancy bamboo.
Went so
whatever.
long without sleep.
Yeah.
Years without good sleep.
Well, here's the thing, is that if you're in combat and you want to take a break or take a little nap, a little resty poo, then that's weak. And what we have to be able to differentiate is the warrior code and being strong versus being stupid. And when we're in garrison, if you're intentionally sleep depriving yourself, then you're putting your entire team at risk. And I'll say that there is a big problem in the military, and Chris is going to talk about the negative consequences of a career in the military. And what I want to talk about is our readiness today. And the GAO, which is the Government Accountability Office, reported to Congress. It's their job to report to the Arms Committee on the status of certain things. And they came back again another year with the same exact information that we've seen all the way back 2015 RAND report. They continue to do these studies that our military is sleep deprived and fatigued. Now, what does that mean? What is the point in telling us that our sleep deprived military is bad and getting worse? Well, we can measure the blood alcohol equivalency in cognition of someone sleep deprived. What that means is if you're tired, you might as well be drunk. We see collisions in ships. We see planes going down. 2 nights ago at midnight, we had another incident off the coast of Greece.
Just
The
heard about that
details
yesterday,
are
man.
still sensitive. We are losing billions of dollars to avoidable accidents. The GAO's report said exactly what I'm talking about right now. We are jacked up. Now, listen, we have the best fighting force in the world, but we've been playing in the sandbox of Iraq and Afghanistan. What's going to happen when we have our first world threat? When that pops up, are we going to be ready? And according to the GAO, we are sleep deprived, sleep restricted, fatigued, cognitively checked out military. How do we fix this problem? And the thing is that we have solutions right now, but the problem is nobody wants to talk about it because nobody wants to be the weak warfighter. Nobody wants to be the one taking a nappy poo in combat. So we have to draw the line between, okay, yes, you're not going to get sleep when you're in combat or on mission or on operations. You have to accept that, and you have to be hard, and you have to move on. We do not want a weak, soft military. But when you're in garrison and we get the opportunity, just like working out, just like nutrition, supplements, all these things that we spend so much money and time on, we have to get good sleep. And so the first step is allowing for enough sleep, right? And, Naval Postgraduate School has done a great job of outlining the protected sleep period. They specifically were focused on Navy ship watches after the 2017 collisions that we lost 19 kids dead for no good reason, except for people were asleep at the wheel, literally. That's what the investigation showed. So Naval Postgraduate School, and this happens over and over and over, like I said 2 nights ago, we're losing billions of dollars in lives, and we can do better. We can do better, and the answers are there. So Naval Postgraduate School says, okay, let's give them a protected sleep period. But my question, and what my mission is now, is that what do you do during that sleep period? Are you getting good quality sleep? Or are you drinking Monsters and playing Call of Duty? Right? So we don't just need leadership to come around to creating policy that is indicative of good sleep, good recovery, so we are the top fighting force in the world, but we also need somebody to rise up from the enlisted ranks and show what right looks like. Show them why we're doing this, for testosterone improvements, for cognition improvements, for gains in the gym, to be better at your job, to be better with your family. All of these things come from better sleep. And so with that, we recently got Pete Hegseth into, I say we got him. I mean, we showed up in D.C. and supported his confirmation as the new Secretary of Defense. But he did it on his own. Okay, I don't want to take any credit for that. Pete's an amazing human being. But now that he's Secretary of Defense, we have an incredible opportunity for change. And so what I wrote a memorandum to Mr. Hegseth specifically outlining what I think we need to do with DOD. And here's the good news. Not only would we be saving budgetary dollars from the billions of dollars we lose from lives and collisions, and it just never ends. It's always fatigue. But also, we can increase the lethality of the warfighter. That is Mr. Hegseth's number one mission, is to improve the lethality of the warfighter, starting with meritocracy. And that means that we have to have a health and wellness plan. And guess what? GAO has already reported. We already have divisions, departments, commands across the DOD already trying to institute this, but they're fragmented and they don't have one leader to unify all of those things.
Secretary Hegseth will fix that.
He'll fix it.
He can do that. He's a great guy. I'm freaking excited to see what he does.
Ooh, yeah.
It's funny because the pilots have it. It's like certain parts of our military, like you said, it's already there, and they do that, and they implement that in the beginning. That's probably when we need to hit the guys. Is we're kind of done, right? We're trying to play catch up, but if you implement it when they come in, and I always thought that there should be an enlistment getting out. Like there should be like a 2 to 4 year enlistment when you're getting out, and we train you in all this stuff too, in case you got overlooked, just to make sure when we send you out to the masses that you're ready to go back into civilian life.
But the part of the problem is the fragmentation of all these different efforts. There isn't a coordination. There isn't a bringing them together.
Yeah, not yet.
And not yet, right? And the new SecDef, for all his intentions, isn't going to be able to do that by himself.
Well, the GAO has made recommendations. They think that someone should stand up a council to address all of this, and there should be a top-down solution because, frankly, we're spending millions of dollars at each of these individual commands for, and yes, the pilots have doctrine.
So how do we bring it all together?
Well, I'll tell you.
How do we coordinate that?
They need somebody from the enlisted ranks to stand up and lead that mission. And I got to tell you, Chris, I'm that man. I can do it. I can do it. That's specifically outlined in my memorandum to Mr. Hegseth. I'm circulating it we're trying to get it up to the CNO. I'm trying to talk to RFK soon about it because HHS has a very big, part in health and wellness of our warfighters, as well as
Got to get that into VA as well.
Doug Collins, exactly. We got another good person as Secretary of VA. We got to talk about this stuff because the result of what we're seeing in the VA begins when that person enlists. Their career
That's when
defines.
it's supposed to start,
Yeah. We can do better.
Because you know as well as I do, when we're going through the program, nothing's noted. Like, we just don't take the time to write that down. Matter of fact, you avoid it.
Yeah, of course.
Then when you get out, you don't have anything to show for it except for the scars and everything, but that just kind of finally backfilled. Now, just like you said, probably need to do a great council. Like, we know who the best and brightest are, man. Bring them to one spot. Throw them in a room and say, fix this. We have the money. I mean, we print money. That's what we do. There's no shortage of it. It's just like, man, we need to put it in the right spot. And it's just the wars. It's nobody's fault, right? It's that we're playing catch up. 9/11 happened, all that stuff going down. All the pandemics and everything got sick. It's just like every time you try to start something, it's almost like it wasn't time. It's like, I need you to get better at your job. I need you to get better at this. And then now we have these people and we're knowing who they are. Let's get them together.
And just some data here. Last year, VA spent $600 million on suicide prevention efforts that did not move the needle one little bit. That's $600 million. Their mental health services, I think, are $14 billion a year.
Big.
And they're not moving the needle on, nobody going in is getting to the VA is getting better through PTSD treatment. Now, I'm not saying that that's literally true, but their own administrative data show that nobody with PTSD diagnoses ever comes off those diagnoses.
So wouldn't it be amazing? I mean, solution is if what you're doing with operator syndrome, what you're doing with sleep study is incorporated in the VA to where when not just active duty military, but when they're retired and getting out, there's solutions when they go to the VA instead of just getting put on pills.
Right. And both. It needs to be both places. As Marcus, as you said, it starts day one when on enlistment.
And then what do we do with our first responders and our firefighters? They don't have something like we do. Like military, the force is great. We got our own place. It's like our own little bar.
Yep.
They don't have that.
Yep. We got to help them too. Absolutely.
It's true.
There's got to be like a universal hospital, and I mean, because we have the best doctors.
But what starts in the military and what starts in the VA and what those two large organizations do filters throughout all of medicine in the U.S. Every doctor, every nurse, every psychologist, every social worker in the country trains in the VA at some point. So if we change the culture, if we change the information and awareness in DOD and VA, that will have a filter, that will have a ripple effect.
You think the doctors would go for it if say there was a recruitment, like you found out who the best doctors in the country were, like because y'all are rated. Mm-hmm. But hey, look, for 4 years I'm gonna snatch you out of the civilian world and put you in here. You won't ever have to pay taxes. Matter of fact, it's such a prestigious position to be in there. We're going to give you all these perks that go with it.
Like
and
some
then we're
incentive.
Then we're going to rotate you out, get you back into the civilian world. But when you walk into that VA, you know it's the best we got.
That's an interesting idea.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like instead of paying, like give them suckers rewards.
Yeah.
Like I got some stuff you can't even believe I'll give you if you do this for me.
Free property
just because
tax
you're a
or
badass,
something.
and I want you in here, and then everyone will know you're the badass. I'll put it on your license plate. Something like that. I mean, that's got to be, I just think that might be something to look at.
Yeah. It's an interesting idea. I mean,
to work your ass off as a doctor just in the hopes that you could get sequestered or recruited to go in there for a 4-year stretch.
I mean,
you know what? Because you don't have to pay taxes again.
And I think the concept that you're tapping into is the concept of service. Service to community, service to nation, service to your people.
Because our people, Americans, respond to that. I mean, our diversity is one thing. Our unity is something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see our people hurting themselves for it, like going out of their way to make sure that they're doing their job so they can help people, man, we respond to that.
Yeah.
Like you can't believe. That's the one thing I've been able to see going down my road.
Well, at this point, what do you hope to see, like with all of it? What's your end goal?
Well, the concept of operator syndrome is it's not a diagnosis, it's a framework for understanding the things on this list and how they're all interrelated. They're all connected. Your sleep affects your metabolism, affects your hormone production because testosterone is produced during sleep. Your brain health is affecting your sleep. Your sleep is affecting your brain health. So what I would like to see, and just kind of big picture everywhere in our healthcare, is more awareness of the interconnection of all of our physiological systems and how we need to be thinking, systematically about physiological systems. Not just saying, oh, this is just simply psychological trauma, air quotes around trauma. Seeing a therapist and having conversations is going to fix everything. It's not, and I'm not putting down therapy. I mean, I'm a therapist myself. That's just, we've used that easy button too long. So we've got to stop that. We've got to change. If we could bring this framework of operator syndrome and make it relevant and put it in there in DOD, and I think sleep is a great linchpin to do it. In fact, I don't know, Rob, if I've shared this with you, the very original paper of the operator syndrome that lived on my computer, in an early draft for years. And I just shared it with the guys I worked with. I shared it with Garrett. I shared it with Tyler. I shared it with Dave Rutherford, hundreds of guys now. Originally, it was titled The Sleep Manual for Operators. That was literally the title of it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, actually.
But it was the same paper that I don't mean to say it was the same paper, but it was the same framework of the paper that we eventually published. Sleep was the linchpin to catch attention, to get guys and their wives to go, oh shit, yeah, let's listen to this. This makes sense. And because everybody does want to sleep better.
Yeah, we love that.
Everyone wants to sleep better.
If you don't do it, you'll die.
Right. You will. You literally die.
It's a part of being a human.
Yes. You will die of sleep deprivation before you'll die of starvation.
I believe that.
Yeah. Literally. If you stop eating and stop sleeping at the same time, you'll die of sleep dep first.
If I don't sleep, I love my sleep. And if I don't get my required amount of sleep, I feel hungover the next day.
Yeah.
And I haven't drank alcohol in almost 15 years. I feel flat out hungover if I am sleep deprived.
Well, then it pisses people off. And then you go out into the environment and you're automatically in a bad mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like a hungover bad mood, which is worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely something we need to address.
So there's something interesting that happens during sleep that you can probably feel if you're sensitive to it. So in deep sleep, our brain can reduce in size by as much as 60%, allowing that cerebral spinal fluid, part of the glymphatic system, to come in and rinse away.
Clean itself.
Yeah. So in essence, your brain is shrinking. It's just deactivating and shrinking throughout this process. So imagine if you're having light sleep and you're not able to hit some of those deeper sleep stages, and you wake up and your brain feels fatigued, right? Your brain feels swollen, right? Or inflamed. And now maybe you're a little bit dehydrated. Oh boy, that sounds a lot like a hangover.
Mm-hmm. I 100% could see that because I have a headache if I don't sleep. I feel that makes complete sense.
I didn't even think about it till you said it like that, but it's almost like when we go into the gym to work out. Like in the daytime when you're working out, your muscles are inflamed. Mm-hmm. And then after 24 hours, them suckers start to die down. Mm-hmm. Same way with your brain. As soon as you up and start thinking, that sucker, and whatever you're thinking about makes it, if it's real hard lift, it's going to swell even more. So you do need some downtime afterwards for that sucker to get back
And
to-
what is traumatic brain injury? It's neuroinflammation. That's what it is. It's neuroinflammation.
So interesting. So, do you have anything else that you want to?
Yeah, let me say a little bit about 62 Romeo. So, this was a program founded around team guys and combat vets to figure out sleep. It's this disciplined approach that I referred to. And in essence, it is a 6-week program, call it 2 months, and you just meet once a week and sort of dial in your sleep. But we layer in different steps for this breathing exercises, and it gets more and more in depth as you go. And this program has helped hundreds of people. It is rigorous, but for the first time, we have launched the Sleep Genius app. People can download it right now, Sleep Genius Community app on Apple and Android. And the 62 Romeo program is on there. And now people can join it self-guided. Sometimes we do scholarships, especially for veterans and first responders. But they can go through there and completely reshape their life. Now, outside of that, everything else is free on the Sleep Genius app. And so you can get started with breath work right now, no cost. You can jump on the forums, talk with PhDs that focus on sleep. There's a lot. It's all focused on helping people with their sleep. So that is what's going on with me. If anybody wants to find me on socials, it's all Sleep Genius across all the platforms.
Nice. I'm going to download it right
What
now.
about you, Chris?
The Operator Syndrome book is available on Amazon. If you buy it on Amazon, I make a few pennies. If you go to Ballast Books Publishers, I make a couple of bucks if you buy it there. But
Are they signed when you buy it on Ballast?
No, probably not anymore. I did sign the first
Yeah.
batch, but not anymore. Beautiful quote from the one and only Rob Sweetman in the book. I think page 42 or 43 if you want to read it.
That's right. Teamwork.
Do you want to grab it and read off your quote?
Absolutely. Let's see
I think
here.
it's 42 or 43. It's at the top of the sleep chapter, of course. Where else would it be?
So, Robert Sweetman writes, as I left the Navy with several sleep issues, insomnia, hypervigilance, obstructive sleep apnea, one of my friends committed suicide. Ryan Larkin was a Navy SEAL, sniper, and medic, and would never see the age of 30. What I realized is that Ryan suffered serious sleep-related issues. He used sedatives like Ambien and alcohol to fall asleep and stimulants to wake up. This is something that many of us did. It's very common in the SEAL teams. What I didn't know then was how this pseudo-sleep wasn't as restorative as we hoped, and that would pay the price later. We would pay the price later. Ryan was awake for 5 days before he hung himself in his parents' basement.
Well,
Thank you, gentlemen, for doing what you're doing and fighting the good fight. Help our brothers and sisters out, man. God bless you.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I
having
just
us.
downloaded the app and it was easy. It was quick and easy. So we're going to use it. Thank you.
Thank you.